Hello. It's Alice here, and we are here for another happy at home session. Thank you so much for joining me. I am really inspired by these sessions. They have been so much fun. I have been having the best time ever, and I really appreciate all of the creativity that is coming from these sessions. So I see Diane is here. Orchard Girl says, hi everyone. Phyllis, Donna, welcome. Today we are going to dive into layered stencils again. So we did layered stencils, I think on April 1st, where we did the Gina K layered stencils. Today I have some from PinkFresh to use, and I am so excited the look that we can create with these today. However, before we dive into this, I have to talk about what we did yesterday. If you don't know me, by the way, my name is Alice Bull, and I run the membership group at scraphappy.org. You can get more information by going to scraphappy.org. And if you want to get notified of the fun things that we have going on publicly outside of our membership, and of course, many members join us, you can sign up for the emails right there. So, scraphappy.org/subscribe. Okay, today we're going to dive into the stencils, but before we do that, I have to show you some of the results now that everything is dry from yesterday's live session. Yesterday, we explored the super fun world of Yupo paper, and we played with alcohol inks and watercolors. So let's take a look at how this turned out. I'm going to turn on this other camera, just like this. So this is the first paper that we made yesterday using the Yupo. Now, if you missed yesterday, here's the recap. Yupo is not actually paper. It is 100% polypropylene, and it has a matte finish, and it works so cool for creative projects. So it's kind of like a paper, but not a paper. And it's like a plastic, but also it doesn't kind of work like a plastic. And so we explored that yesterday. So if you missed the one on April the 13th, it was at a different time, then please go and catch that. It is in the replays on the Scrap Happy YouTube channel here. Okay, so pretty. I know. Denelse is like so pretty. So this was all done with alcohol inks. I used the Adirondack alcohol inks, and just, it is gorgeous. And using isopropyl alcohol to kind of spread out some of the beautiful colors. Nessa says hello from the UK. Well, hello from Canada, Nessa. So nice to see you here. Okay, so that was with the alcohol ink. This is amazing. I finally just got pictures during daylight because I didn't get them done during daylight yesterday. And I tried taking them at night, just could not get this like with the justice it deserved. So I just took them. I'm going to post them on my Instagram, and I'll have those posted there. So if you wanted to take a peek at that, that's where you'll be able to find them. They're not there yet. Okay. We also played with the Yupo with watercolor paper. Not with watercolor paper. I'm saying the wrong thing. We played with the Yupo medium paper with watercolors. With the watercolors, the paint. Okay, and here is the final finished product with the watercolor. Now, envision this. Envision this with me. Go with me here. Envision this cut down to a 12 by 12 so that, okay, so I can't cut it 12 by 12. It's 11 by 14, but imagine it 11 by 11 and then matted on a different background paper, like say a black or something to make it look real fancy. And then you have your layout built on top of this. How fun will that be? Okay, so I'm totally going to do this. That's going to happen. But I really loved this so much that I started playing again last night with this, with the alcohol inks. I made another one, and I'm making it Instagram reel for this. So you'll be able to see that on my Instagram as well. But look at the way the colors blended and moved. I know, the watercolors made in a beautiful one. The alcohol inks were gorgeous. I am just blown away by the detail and how this all works. And with the watercolor, you have the full watercolor sitting on the page. So you do have to be careful that you don't like touch it with soggy fingers and muck it all up, right? Because it will definitely muck it up. But look at the way those colors blended right there. Oh, that's like making my heart melt. It's so beautiful. Okay, so that was yesterday. Huge success. That was beautiful. Today we're going to play with layered stencils from PinkFresh Studio. So I recently took a session I did an event with Scrapbook and Cards Today magazine, and they had PinkFresh Studio do a little, I think it was a lunch and learn. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I think we had a few people there. And we did a lunch and learn, and we made beautiful card fronts with these layered stencils. So I'm loving on these. I know. Thank you so much for the thumbs up. That is so sweet. I love it. So thank you for sharing the love. So yeah, this is the beautiful look that we did with these stencils. And you can see like how pretty they are. I loved the color palette. I just loved it. So Vicky says it was so pretty, and the metallic additives would have really made it pop. I know. I so wish I would have had the metallics to put into those. I'm going to order some. It might take a while to come, so I can't promise that I can bring it back during Happy at Home, but I'll definitely be playing with them again. So I had done this one, and then I did another one, and instead of doing the little center flowers just simple, I actually used a little bit of Nuvo Glacier paste in the center of my flowers, and I loved how that turned out. So I was really excited by these because it is called a seamless floral set. Okay, sorry, I don't have my packaging in front of me. That's weird. I don't know where I said it. Okay, so there's 5 stencils in this set, which I really prefer. I like the fact that they had more layers. That is gorgeous for a card front or to use on a scrapbook layout somehow. So I love that they have 5 because we've got leaf details on this one. Here are the leaves. Here are some flower parts and some flower centers. Here are an extra layer of flowers that are different than the initial layer of flowers. So when you line those all up, they're great. One thing I really liked about these stencils as well is that they have little markings. I'm going to see that I can try to get you to see them. They're hard to see, but like right here in the corner, what if I put something dark underneath it? Here's a little piece of dark. Can you see it better then? You can see, yeah, you see how there's like a little tiny little corner right there. Well, all 4 corners actually have that. And if you look at that with the card front on here, they're perfectly lining you up for a quarter fold card. So they have guidelines to help you line that up. But the thing about these stencils is they're called a seamless stencil. So you can line it all up. You can do your stenciling with all your layers, and then you can do this on the next layer. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like with my 2 pieces when I line them up right. So you can see here how they make a perfect seamless effect. Isn't that lovely? And because they're like that, that means I can do this effect and make that on a whole scrapbook page. So I think that's what we have to do today. Now, looking at these, you can see I use slightly different colors on the 2 versions, and I quite like them both. I have different detailing done in both. I really like some of the stuff that I did, but I'm going to kind of have to choose to go more with one or the other. I'm definitely going to keep this combination of the pink, the yellow, the teal with a little, I think this one looks nicer with the little touches of the orangey peachy color in it. And this one has like lighter colored flowers, but you know, I think we'll go more with this style. And then who can resist a little bit of shiny, glimmery effect, right? So I think we're gonna go with more of the effect of this one for this layout. Now, here's the catch. These stencils will allow me to do the seamless effect as long as I stick within this size, right? The size of this card, that will be seamless. If I try to line up the full edge of the stencil, it won't be seamless anymore. So you have to stick within these measurements. Quarter fold cards are 4¼ inches by 5½ inches. So 5½ inches plus 5½ inches doesn't make a 12-inch strip, and that's what I really want. So this is from PinkFresh Studio, Vicky. So yeah, Dion says, that's cool, you can use them for cards or borders on a layout. Yes. Now the catch is, I can't just do it twice to make a full border, like to have it reach all the way from the top to the bottom. So I'm gonna have to do it 3 times. But I think that I can make it a little bit easier as we go. Maybe. We're going to try. We're going to aim for that. We're going to use a few little cheats that I think I have figured out, because I saved this one for later because I wanted to have a few little ideas about how it's going to work. I haven't tested it yet. I think that seeing me experiment, seeing me go with it, like, you have the chance to offer me your suggestions, but also I have the chance to kind of figure it out as we go. So here I have a piece of white cardstock. This is from Close to My Heart. I tend to use a lot of their paper because I buy it in like their book packs with like 20 sheets or 25 sheets or whatever they come. If they came with more, I would just buy more because I like it. Is it great for mixed media? Nah. It's not perfect for mixed media, right? It's not sold as mixed media paper. It's scrapbook paper. It's really nice scrapbook paper, and I love the smooth finish on it, right? It has a really nice, soft, smooth finish. Okay, this looks like it's way up here. I think I would prefer to bring this a little closer to me. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tape this down to my surface. I think I'm gonna have enough things going on without worrying about my paper moving all over the place on me. So I'm gonna tape this down to my surface, and that will be one thing I'm going to use to help me out a little. I'm going to just set this one aside. I'm going to set this one over here so I can kind of refer to it. I do know that I used my Concord and Ninth ink pads. I have them lined up here on my desk. I'll be bringing them out, the colors that I need for it. And because I stuck with that color palette, that's going to make it probably a little easier for me to kind of recreate the look, right? If I wanted to recreate it, I'd have to know which exact colors I used. And I didn't write that down. I don't know about you, but Dion says, or do it twice and then have a 1-inch background around the page. You're speaking my language, Dion. That is a pretty good solution. So I think we'll see how this goes. What I could always do is do it twice, try to do it a 3rd time, and see if I'm just really frustrated by that and just like, no, let's just do it twice and leave a border, right? So we have a backup plan. Thank you, Dion. I love it. We have a backup plan. Okay, let's have a sip. Good coffee. I didn't have very much coffee today, so I'm feeling like we can go for it a little. Okay, let's turn this a bit. And I think it could use a little more light. Does that help? Does it make it better? It's a little brighter. Okay, put a little more light on the situation. Okay, we're gonna start with layer number 1. And these ones, they do have details on them. So this one here at the bottom, it says 2020 PinkFresh Studios LLC. So that's like their brand strip. At the top, it says Stencil 1. And they are all numbered so that you can go through and use your stencils kind of in order to kind of create the layers. Because part of what you're doing is you're going to lay down a color, but then you're going to add extra details to give those flowers extra fancy details, right? So let's go ahead and do that. One thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to line that little bottom corner up at the bottom corner of my layout. And I've got the other one lined up at least along the bottom. I've got the side one lined up on the side, and I'm going to tape that down, because taping them down is probably the nicest thing you can do for yourself when you're doing these. So probably the nicest thing you can do for yourself to prevent problems, right? So we've got it lined up. Now this is really easy. I'm going to be taking my blender brushes, which I still don't have more of yet, but let me tell you, the urge is strong. So these ones are from Gina K Designs. I think they're super pretty, right? They're just white, but then you have like the pretty colors on the heads of them. As I only have 3 of them right now, this is the one I had before. As I only have these 3, I do have to kind of clean them off a little bit, but I brought my Lawn Fawn chamois to the table with me here today, and I just kind of scrub it off on there enough, right? You know, so that's the plan. Okay, so we're gonna start with my pink color, and I'm pretty sure that is my honeysuckle pink from Concord and Ninth. I really love their colors. I really love their inks. Let's try not to mess it up before I even get started, Alice. I'm gonna tape this other corner down to the paper, which I think will help me a little bit here. Okay, now I'm going to apply a little bit of ink. Sometimes you daub it off on some paper first. I'm gonna start here on this flower that has like a more solid center, and then I can kind of see how my ink's doing as I bring it into the stencil. And I don't know if there's an easier technique. Like literally this is so easy that I think that it just looks super beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna put this up here on the screen for a second. I can do that. This was Dion's super brilliant idea, by the way. So if you have these stencils or if you're thinking of doing this, this would be a good way to make this just that much easier. Do it twice and then have that 1-inch border. Okay, so let's just make sure that my comments, they look like they're working good. So by starting in the center and working out like this, I actually get a nice blend that is like a little darker around the center and then lighter around the tips of the flowers, which I think it looks extra pretty. So that's a really good tip with that. This one has less of a center, so you can kind of see where I went in. It's a little dark there. By the time it's done, it's just going to be beautiful. So, you know, I could worry about the little areas that, this one's lined up like this. I could worry about those little areas, or I could just like not, right? It's like, how much do we need to worry about some of the stuff? We overthink it. Okay, this is going to be super pretty. And we'll do this other flower. Now, the great news is that because I just did this with one color on the stencil, I didn't have to tape anything off. I didn't have to do anything too difficult. The difficult part is going to come with making sure that I move my stencil up the right amount. So I should have taken my pencil and marked right here underneath this at that perfect spot. How do I do that? Did I get it right? Oh, good job, Alice. Okay, so I marked my spot, and that's where I'm going to line my next one up to. So I'm just going to pick this stencil up right now, and I am just going to move it up using that little spot that I drew. If I didn't draw that spot and if I couldn't line it up very good, I could just take a pen, like I could take my ruler and measure it and put that mark on it, but I think this will work just fine. So now I'm going to line my little L corner here, and I'm going to line this one up so that it is perfectly along the edge of that paper. And then that should be good for my next one. I got hair on there. Okay. Go in and color these up. Yeah, so from the first moment that I saw as these stencils and the fun things we could do with it, I'm like, that needs to go onto a scrap of paper for sure. Okay, you know what I didn't do? I didn't mark the next corner. And since I wanted to try to create this, let's try to mark this next corner. Let's see, can I get it in the right spot? Is that right? Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so then I'm gonna pick this up again. Now that I've blended those ones. Oh, you can see I got a little overshadow off the top. I was a little aggressive there. Don't do that. Now it's hard to line this up, so I'm going to try to make this as square as I can. Let's see. I'm just going to take this ruler. One thing I like to do sometimes when I'm lining things up is align the edges of my ruler up on both sides, and then I can make something nice and straight. And so that's what I'm going to do right here, is make this nice and straight. Once I have this corner in the right place, I can line that up, and then I can make this nice and straight here. So is this as easy as it could be if this fit perfectly? No, of course not, right? But I'm just going to mark a little pencil corner at the very corner of that, so then I'll know I have the other side lined up. And if something doesn't look like it's lined up right, well, then we'll know that, right? So this could be cleaned off. I can just do that after. Okay, so that was my honeysuckle color. With my next one that I'm bringing in here, this is stencil number 2. It has more flowers. Now, when we line this up in that corner and down here, I'm gonna need my tape bits. I'm gonna pull those off of here, because, you know, I'm generous with the tape, but I'm also very willing to reuse it. Get my bang for my buck there. And I have one more. No. Hello from Arizona, says Elma. Welcome. Welcome. We are playing with the PinkFresh Studio layered stencils, and this is a seamless floral that they have. It's a seamless one. Okay, so now when this is lined up, you're going to notice here, there is overlap on these flowers. Now that's one of the things that makes this extra pretty. The way that they've layered it doesn't mean that nothing is touching. It allows you to get these little subtle layers in here. So let me show you on this one here what that kind of looks like. So in this area right here, you can see that the pink and the yellow actually overlap. Oh, see, I did the pink as the big ones there. Yeah, I did the yellow ones next here. So you can see how they overlap in some of the areas, the leaves and the flowers. So don't be like freaked out and think you've got it all lined up wrong. It's not wrong. It just, most of it is separate and some of it is not. And I think that was part of the beauty of how they designed these stencils. Okay, so going in with my yellow on this one here. So let's go in with my yellow. My yellow is called Buttercup from Concord and Ninth. So the Buttercup. And I have a yellow stencil brush, little inking brush. And so some of my flowers I'm doing a little bit lighter. And if you want to go lighter, you can actually hold the brushes like on the handle. And if you want to go darker, you can go in and put a little more pressure onto the head of the brushes. And I think by doing both on here, it allows me to make it like extra pretty. Extra pretty, right? Now, if you're working on something with me, maybe we're scrapbooking together and you're kind of like, oh, Alice, what is she doing over there? I'd love to know what you are working on today for your scrapbooking and or creative adventure. What little bit of creativity or is making you happy at home today? Oh yeah, I'm that cheesy. I said it. What is making you happy at home today? So go ahead and let us know what you're working on if you're working on something. Maybe if you're a Scrap Happy member, maybe you're using Sarah's sketch number 2. She has her second sketch out. And later today, I will have our monthly sketch posted. The monthly sketch also comes with a digital download, so you can download that and use it for your artisan or for your using Photoshop. Okay, so add a couple more of these flowers in here. And I'm just going directly in there, like I'm not tapping it off on something. You totally could, but as you can see, it's turning out beautiful and I'm not overly fussy with it. So and then we're gonna lift it up one more time. We're gonna put it up onto our last little lineup spots right here. And you'll see most of it isn't on here, but there's a little tiny bit of it that is. So we'll go in and add this little flower and this little edge of that flower. And that's part of what will make it seamless. Okay, I think we got it good. So we got that one. Let's pull these little bits off. Put my yellow back. Bye-bye, Buttercup. And then my next layer here, it has a couple of different parts. Now on this one, I will say I did a couple things different. So I went in and I added, you can see how there's some floral leaves here. So on the floral leaves, I just added those like normal. You can also see that I've added some extra color around the edges and I left the centers of these center blooms covered. So I did that by covering sections of the stencil. So I've covered any of the different little floral centers. Any of the flower parts, though, I have left. So the flowers I've left, but the little centers I covered. So in this little piece right here, I've actually got a little, there's more detail around the edge, and so kind of to try to bring a little bit of that different element to it, because I wanted to go in with my stencil at the end. I've covered up that part, and I could have left it and just covered it with this yellow Nouveau Glacier paste, but I was worried that the color that I was using was going to pop too much through the glacier paste and that you wouldn't get that full effect of the glacier paste. So just going to cover up the ones that are little floral centers so that those will be available for me to use on fresh, like on a fresh area. Okay, so now that those are covered, we can go through and stencil just like we have for the rest of it. And I used kind of a peachy color that time, and I think we'll just continue with that. Line this up. Okay, so the peachy color, I have two that are kind of peachy. I have a sorbet and I have a grapefruit. The grapefruit is a little softer, the sorbet is a little darker. I think I probably use the sorbet. If it turns out different, it's going to be different. Okay, Kate says, I'm happy to have caught this live. I'm working on getting my scrappy space cleaned up after painting the walls this weekend. Debbie's working on planning pages for International Scrapbook Day and for her Golden Girls load. She is planning ahead. And Orchard Girl, she says, I'm scrapping my staycation photos. That's perfect. So you guys are working on some fun things. I love it. Okay, so you can see that I've lined it up right here because the edge of this flower is right here at the bottom. So it's right on that edge. Now, I will tell you, if you look closely at my ink pad, there's some sparkles on it. Yeah, I did that. It was not one of those like brilliant moments. I dabbed a little dabber that I was using across some sparkly things back in here, and I'm like, Alice, don't, what did you do? So, if you don't want to contaminate everything with sparkles in your space, be careful. Okay, now because this is my inker that I change colors with a lot, I'm just gonna use I'm gonna dab a little bit on here until I can see that it's coming off on this paper towel in the color that I expect it to. Because otherwise, otherwise I wouldn't have cleaned it good enough, right? Let's see if I can remove some of these silly sparkles off of there while I'm dabbing it off and making sure it's the right color. Okay, now I'm just gonna go in and ink these little bits of my flowers. I think that's super pretty. So I've gone around the edges of this one right here. And it's just gonna give me a little bit of subtle shading on the center of that flower while leaving that little center bit for where I'm gonna add the other color. Now here, you'll notice that this flower is actually cut in half. So as I shade it, I'm a little concerned as to how these are gonna line up and be seamless. I'll tell you the truth, I'm a little concerned about this because I'm shading them so much as I go. But now's the time of truth, right? So I'm gonna move this up, and this is where we'll see if my little marks are lining up really well. And I want those flower parts to meet up. So I'm making sure that I'm meeting up those little flower parts. Now, we'll see how perfect that is. It may not be 100% perfect because, you know, there's a seam right there. I am meeting on a seam. Hopefully it's good enough. Like, and hopefully I'll like it. Right? That's the goal. As long as I like it in the end. I think I will, because like already it's looking pretty, right? It's like, okay, now Alice, you've done a good job. So you can see it's an imperfect match, but I can live with it. I can live with that. That looks okay. I don't feel like I messed that up too bad. So I'm gonna just line this one up. I've got one more little section to do up here. Yeah, I think it's okay. Now you can see a few spots where I like went over the edge with, especially with that other color. And you can definitely see the line where those flowers meet up. But if anybody's looking that close, they're looking way too close. So I think overall it's good. Now we will be coming back to this one. So I'm going to actually take it and wipe this one off because we're going to be using that glacier paste on it. So I'm just gonna wipe that one off right now to make sure it will have time to be nice and dry when we need to come back to this stencil. Inevitably, you have to wipe the front and the back. Okay, I'm just gonna stand that one up so it dries off really good. Okay, I'm gonna put the sorbet away. That was the sorbet. And we're gonna go in and start our leaves. So this one is stencil number 4, and we're getting started on the leaves. I'm just gonna line the corner up right there. Need a few more little bits of paper. This is the paper tape from scrapbook.com. It is called their mint tape. It is similar. It's a low tack tape, and it comes off really easy. So you can see, like, when I'm peeling it off, it's not a struggle, it's not sticking to it, and it's not pulling the paper off, right? So it's kind of like a sticky note, but, you know, as a rule. So I quite like it. If you're wanting to write on it, I think that most things will write onto it, like pencil. Here's a pen. Yeah, so things kind of write on it really good too. So I'm quite, you know, it's nice tape. And it's a little different than the purple tape. So I've used both with holding stencils through my Big Shot machine if you're cutting stencils. So both of them are fine. So Kate says those sparkles get everywhere. Sparkles happen. I know. I don't generally let loose sparkle into my scrapbook room as a whole. I'm a little hesitant on the loose sparkle thing, but they make it in some ways. Okay, so I have here my teal colors. I don't 100% know what I used. I have this Oceanside. Maybe I should experiment. So this is the one this brush is the one I usually use with my blues. But as you saw, I also used it with my orangey color. So I'm just gonna wipe, you know, I'm just rubbing it off on this Lawn Fawn chamois. And then I'm just going to brush it off onto some paper towel. It's not leaving any more color on the paper towel. But I'm gonna test maybe some Aqua Sky to see if potentially I use the Aqua Sky. I think I used the Aqua Sky and then the Oceanside. So we're gonna repeat that because I really liked the look of this. So, and I think that looks good. And I think by starting with this Aqua Sky and then adding details with the next one, because you can see, like, these are just like leaf details. When I go with the darker color, that'll look good. So here we go. Probably one more piece of this little tape on here just to hold this down good. So the last thing you want is for your stencil to come up and move on you. And then you're like looking at this and you're like, I've done all this work. I made it all the way to layer 4 and now I've messed it all up. I'm like, what would you do? You would just cover that section with something or layer something over it, or you would, you know, stamp another flower on another thing and then you would cover that section and make like a pop-up flower, right? So there's a lot of ways that you can fix things up, but, you know, it's easier if you don't have to. April says it looks like the Heffy Doodle tape, which is kind of like Post-it tape. There you go. I haven't used the Heffy Doodle. So now we have a comparison, just in case somebody else has used that one. Yeah, so this area, the leaves also will be cut in half. So I think we'll see like where the lineups are. So seamless kind of is more to the design, not necessarily to the way it will line up, having like partial flowers on this. And like at any point, if you wanted to not have like parts of them lined like that, you could definitely like just cover those sections and not do them. So this is the Aqua Sky that I'm using. Look how pretty it is. Oh my gosh. Okay, so another thing that I do have that I should probably show you right now, because I can see I was ambitious over the top edge of this one too. So I've been ambitious over the top edge of my stencils a lot. So you can tape it, that helps. But I have here, it is a mono sand eraser from Tombow. A mono sand eraser from Tombow. And as long as you're careful with one of these and don't overly aggressively go after your paper too much, you can remove a lot of the stuff that's sitting on the surface to kind of get rid of some of those spots that are like, that was a bit of a mess, right? And you can take some of those little messy spots out and make them just a lot less prevalent. So you're not just like staring at that spot saying, I wish I hadn't done that. So just cheating. With a sand eraser, go aggressive. You're going to cut, like you're going to get down into the layers of your paper And, you know, you might not be happy with that. Okay, so let's line this corner up. Line up this corner and this edge there. And my leaves are lined up, so that looks right. Perfect. And we will color these ones in. This is actually going pretty good. And like, it's taking a while, sure, but you know, there's a lot of colors, there's a lot of flowers. If I was stamping, that would also take a fair bit of time. You know, so, you know, there's definitely a time investment in everything that we do. But I think this is going to be so pretty that I'm just going to be like so happy I did it. Okay. And one final time. Good. One final time, we move it up here and line that up and line that up. And get my flower lined up. Good. And then we'll have the last little bit here. So I just have one layer to do, except we're going to go back to that layer 3 and add the details into the flowers once all the color is added here. Okay. I look like I'm missing something here. Did I miss something? Did I not put one of these up here? Oh, I know. It's going to come in with the detail, with the mist. I'm like, there is a hole. There's a hole. It's okay. It's supposed to be there. I left it there on purpose. Okay, so that is the end of the aqua sky color that I have used. And we're going to come in with some Oceanside to add these details. And I'm going to grab these little bits. Okay, so we'll line up the stencil. And you'll notice that when you line them up, that some of the flower parts, like some of the leaf parts, like they don't look like they're perfectly lined up when you're looking through it. So when I look through here, I can see part of the white along the edge. And I'm thinking, well, geez, the leaf isn't lined up right. It's because you're adding color. So, you know, so far the leaf looks like this, but you're actually making the leaf a little bit wider by having this dark edge or this other colored edge to the flower. So don't worry that the little parts that you're looking at aren't perfectly lined up. That's totally okay. So just in case you're wondering about that, especially when you sit down and do it, because you're like, oh, I was sure I lined this up. It doesn't actually have to line up. You'll see it as you complete that stencil. Now, I will say that using a brush like this with a stencil is way easier and smoother, and I think gives you nicer results than trying to use one of those little foamy blenders. I don't think those work nearly as nice until I started using blender brushes like this. I was not happy with ink blending, and especially using stuff with a stencil. I found it quite infuriating, actually. Did I go over the edge again? I totally did. I'm really good at this, guys, I swear. Okay, so let's line this up. Let's line that up. Oh, and I don't have this lined up. It moved. Stick that down. So this layer is nearly done. I did it again. I'm like not being careful enough because it's like so far away from where I'm sitting, right? And I think sometimes when I'm scrapbooking, I'm like over top, but you guys probably don't want to look at the back of my head the whole time that I'm creating, right? So a few imperfections as I go. It'll just look a little more handmade. Or I can go in with my little eraser and just erase like some of the brightness of what I just did there off of it. There, that looks a little better. So keep one of those handy. I was watching somebody else craft and they had one of those. I'm like, I am sure I have one in my stash somewhere. I could not find it. So I just went out and I bought myself a new one. Well, I didn't go out anywhere because let's be real, I don't go anywhere anymore. I stay home. That was like the whole point of these happy at homes is because I'm staying home. I ordered one from my local scrapbook store, which, you know, was in Edmonton, but you know, 2 hours. That's my local. Okay, so that's done. What do you think? Super beautiful? Well, I think we just have the finishing touch now. So I'm just gonna wipe my brush off because that's the last color I'm doing. Will it be perfectly clean? No, but you know, it should be enough to allow me to change colors slightly. And I do take these and I take them under the sink and I just rinse them out with water from time to time. And that's a good way to clean them out too. So I'm just gonna put this ocean side away. Now, I'm gonna show you something because Alice playing with inks usually means inky fingers. Look how good they look. I am not covered in a million inks. That's kind of amazing right there. Yay for the blender brush. I haven't touched a lot of those stencils yet, so that will be a whole new thing. But yeah, let's grab this stencil. So this is the one that I covered up a lot of the pieces. And what my goal is now is to cover the opposite pieces. It can be hard to do if you start pulling them off and you don't remember which pieces you're trying to cover. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to set it on here because that would be silly. I'm just going to draw a little mark on each of the pieces that I'll have to take off. And then I'm going to start covering the other ones because I don't want to put my glacier paste on all of those spots. Okay. Let's put this on here. And see if we can't get all of these little spots covered up. Break that one in half. And that will help me here. And then I'm going to pull this center one off because that's going to be harder. And I'm just going to cut like little skinny strips to go around this part of the flower here. I'm going to cover those up. And now, because I wrote on the other ones, it's really easy to see which ones I need to pull off. Not that one, because I'm pulling the ones I wrote on. Yeah, paying attention. Okay, here we go. So now we've got just the little centers of these flowers available. I've got all of my tape covering up the ones where I'm not looking to put my glacier paste. And get the glacier paste is right here. Before I apply my glacier paste, I'm going to clean up a couple little areas that I could have done a better job in. Like where I got all the blue stuff over the top edge and smeared a little bit of color. This is a little bit easier to do before I put the glacier paste because then I'm putting a wet product on here and I won't have that chance to kind of do those little cleanups because I'll have to let this thing dry. Okay, so is it 100% perfect? No. Can you tell when you look up close where the seams are? Yeah, especially since I went over the edges of those stencils a little bit. So if you want to be a little more perfect, just like cover that top edge of the stencil, right? Or get in a little closer so you can see where your brush is going. But now I'm going to take this stencil, which is stencil number 3, and I'm going to go back in here and Need to blow some of that sandy powder stuff from the eraser back off of here. And we need to stick this down, and then we can apply the glacier paste. Now, if you haven't seen this glacier paste, we had a whole day during this Happy at Home series where we talked about Nuvo products. One of the things we talked about was the glacier paste. We had my friend Amy from One Mummy Scrapping on here with me, and we talked about glacier paste. We talked about the Nuvo expanding mousse, the Nuvo embellishment paste. We talked about the Nuvo crackle paste, and then we also talked about their little dots. I love the little dots. It's super fun. My favorite are the Dream Drops. That's why they're at a hand's reach. I really love the Dream Drops. So we're gonna open this back up. It has this little foamy piece in there, and I make sure that I keep that because I think that probably will really help to keep some of that in there. Now, I'm planning to take enough of this. This stuff is so smooth and so creamy and so sparkly, but you don't need a lot of it. See, I probably have too much. I should have just taken a little bit less, but you can just scrape it off of your stencil, and I'm just going to slide it into the areas where I need that little bit of sparkle in the center of those flowers, right? Okay, now I'm going to take this off of here, and then I'm going to carefully line it up for my next spot. Now, this mark right there and mark right there. And I'm really happy to see that this isn't covering up some of the same spots, so that's kind of a relief there. I was a little worried that the stencil might have to overlap some of the messy spots. I'm like, well, that wasn't very good. But that didn't happen. We're all good. We're all good. Just scrape some of this off and put that into those little spots. And I think I need just a little touch more over here. And then I'm going to check because I think one of them will line up right here. Perfect. And I'll finish up this little spot and this little spot. Okay. Oh my gosh. I did it. I did it. Okay. So this will have to get cleaned up. I'll just take it to the sink and rinse it in a minute here. I will wipe this off on the last of this Nuvo paste. The glacier paste. So pretty. Oh, did you want to see like up close as to kind of what it looks like inside there? Yeah. It's really, really smooth and creamy. Like, but then it's like super shiny. It's a really pretty product. Okay. So I did it. This has managed to get all the way to the finish line. It is just as pretty as I was hoping it would be. And I can't wait to use this now for a pretty scrapbook page. I don't know if I have a picture that's pretty enough to stick on it. Like, I might have to see about taking some pretty pictures. I'll have to look and see what I have. But, you know, going from my inspiration, you know, where I looked at these stencils, and then I turned this into that strip across there. Oh, so pretty. So are there color suggestions, Joanne? Oh, and one stencil. Yeah, it looked like I had missed the flower. I might have missed the flower completely. If I did, I could see if I can sneak it back in there. See this one? Oh, it's this one, I think. My first one. I missed the flower. That's funny because I looked and thought it looked really empty. But yeah, so I might just go and sneak that back in once that dries. I'm not gonna mess with it right now. And see if I can't sneak that in there. But are there color suggestions? So yeah, you can customize the colors, obviously, when you're playing with your own ink pads. If you have like a rainbow of colors, these colors that I chose to go with were the pink and like kind of a peachy orangey color, the yellow, and then instead of green leaves, I used the aqua. You can see on this card where I didn't do the centers with the Nuvo paste that I actually used the teal leaves, but then I went into some of the flowers of the centers with the green and some in with pink. So on the yellow flowers, I went in with pink, and on the pink flowers, I actually went in with a green. And I thought that was a nice bright pop of color as well. So, you know, it's just a matter of putting together colors that kind of fit with the story you want to tell, with the maybe your favorite colors. Yeah, so the extra dimensions is fabulous. I got some of that in gold, but I haven't used it yet. So I have 3 colors of the glacier paste right now. I have this yellow is called Pineapple Delight, and it makes me so happy because it's pretty color. Reach. And then I also have a green. The green is not as pastel-y. It is definitely a more greeny green. It's called Green Envy. And then I also at this time have Sea Sprite, which is my bluish color. And I have a couple more colors after consulting with Amy. I have a couple of colors on a sheet that I would like to add to my collection. So, Deatrice has a suggestion of something that I might have that's cute enough to scrapbook with this. My baby chickens. That is true. That would be perfect. April says, turn it to be a bottom border and print a giant group photo from a scrap happy retreat, right? So like it totally could be a big photo up here. It's practically done. Diane says, very pretty. I like the use of the Nuvo paste. Beautiful colors. Yeah, I think it's just really gorgeous. And if we went in and did this with different colors, it would look really different, right? And that's one of the great things about a stencil. You're using it, but you're not using it up. You're only limited by the colors, the styles. You could have gone in here without covering any of these centers. I just liked the part where I had the chance to cover it up a little bit. So I was able to add some of that color around those pink flowers, but then still have the centers. So I think that, yeah, there's just a lot of fun ways to kind of go in and use your stencils. Hopefully this inspires you. I'm actually excited to get my hands on more stencils, especially from PinkFresh Studio. I think this one was really well designed and it's super beautiful. And I loved their suggestion of using the teal leaves because it really felt fresh and bright rather than just green. We do green all the time for leaves, but this was a fun take on that. So that is it for today. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me for this session of Happy at Home. I am so happy to be part of such a warm and welcoming community. Scrapbooking is really where my heart is, and I love to share different ideas. And if you are interested in finding out more things that I have going on, you can make sure that you are signed up for my email list. That is it, scraphappy.org/subscribe. I don't send a lot of emails. I just don't have time for it, but I do send some once in a while. So if you want to get those, you have to sign up. Just a note to my members, this list is different than the member list. Just because you're my member, I don't say like, here, have everything. I want to kind of curate that process. So my members are welcome to sign up for this list as well. You will get some different content. Also, if you want to connect with me on Instagram, I'm going to go right now to my Instagram and post the pictures of the Yupo paper stuff. So I can't wait to share that on there. The alcohol ink one and the watercolor, and show how those turned out. If you are shopping for supplies and you happen to be shopping at scrapbook.com. This is my affiliate link. It is bit.ly/scrappyshop. So if you use it, thank you. And that'll be in the description as well. It's always there. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back tomorrow with another happy at home session. If you're catching the replay, I would love to have you join us for the live sometime. And if you're catching the replay and the lives are at a terrible time for you, I am so glad that you're able to watch this on replay, and hopefully it will inspire you to be a little happier at home. Awesome. I will be back tomorrow. Bye, everyone.